Welcome to another episode of the Engaging Virtual Meeting Podcast. If you're watching live on social media, like my good friend Nicole Smith from Arkansas does, hey, hit subscribe, share, like, and comment. If you want all the episodes, you can go to engagingvirtualmeetings.online and get over 100 episodes and a new episode every Wednesday on all 13 of your favorite podcast platforms, where Apple Podcast and Spotify are the number one and number two platforms. And if you go to engagingvirtualmeetings.com/con, you can learn to be more engaging at my engaging conference. This year will be October 28th, 29, and 30, live here in Seattle and hybrid. And so anywhere that you can click a button, scan this QR code, get a free ticket. And now, you are in for a treat of all treats. This person came to the Northwest and keynoted at the Northwest Event Show. She hails from Georgia, so her nickname is now Georgia Peach. She's a dynamic keynote speaker, entrepreneur, and expert on first impressions with a passion for fostering understanding and collaboration amongst diverse teams, amongst a billion other skills, as well as being a National Speaker Association member. Let's welcome the one and only Amanda Mae Gray. Hey, look, you get walk-on music, Amanda. How cool is that?
I'm just ready to dance. I didn't know we were talking too. Jeez.
We actually have a dance contest for the walk-on music. It's kind of
Oh,
unofficial, but you are definitely a contender.
I'm sad that I didn't know that. I would have really brought it more, but maybe at the end.
That's the whole point, is I don't tell anybody.
Exactly. Here's how this is gonna go. Either you danced and you're gonna be fun, or you didn't, and now I'm concerned.
And now I have 30 minutes with you on a podcast.
Right.
Well, man, hey, talk about your trip. Now, you came to the Northwest. Was this your first trip to Seattle?
It wasn't my first time to Seattle, but first time to speak in Seattle. So
And give us one highlight piece before we get an official introduction to you.
the Northwest Event Show was a whirlwind. There was a lot going on and it was a lot of fun. Met a ton of people. I think for me, my favorite part of the show, aside from giving the closing keynote, of course, but, not to toot my own horn, I really enjoyed the waterfront walk. So on the
Yes.
day, instead of just staying at the convention center, they had us all go down to the waterfront and we got to walk around and go to the different areas, different event venues, different food places that you could utilize, the Ferris wheel, and then we ended up at the aquarium at the end. And I just thought that was like super fun, such a natural way to network with people because we just kept running into people. I lost you at one point. You were just gone.
Where did everybody go?
I don't know. We collected all these different people along the way, and I think I met more people doing that super organically than any other way. Obviously, other than running into, one person from MSA that then bloomed into everybody from NSA.
Well,
But I
here at
think that was
NSA,
super cool.
here at NSA Northwest, we really like to welcome our out-of-town speakers. And so Dan Gingiss, shout out to Dan Gingiss, who, by the way, just earned his CSP, Certified Speaking Professional. Dan Gingiss,
Yeah.
we took care of him last year, and it was our job to take care of you this year, and we really loved it. And by the way, that Seattle waterfront is part of a multi-billion-dollar project where the freeways were seismically not sound, and so they made this big decision to destroy the two freeways, build a tunnel underneath, and open up the waterfront so we could do stuff like what you did, Amanda, which was walk along that waterfront and enjoy the one thing that Seattle really has: its water and its beauty, and its people are really part of its special part. But speaking of special, let's talk about you. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about
Back to
Amanda Gray.
me.
Take a moment for my friends who don't know you. They're missing out, right? So we're gonna, end the FOMO right now. Amanda, take a moment to introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do.
So, my name is Amanda Mae Gray. As we have said, I am a keynote speaker, but I also own a video production company called Blue Plate Production, where we specialize in short form retail training videos, which is very niche, very specific thing that I do with video production. But I am also an actress, model, spokesmodel, and salesperson. So, I have been on a stage my entire life. And when I had to give a speech as the best woman best woman at a wedding. Everybody came up afterwards, like, oh, it was great. You were like the best. Da, da, da. And I was like, I love this. This was so fun. I didn't get to, I got to be myself and talk instead of play a role and talk as an actress. And so that was kind of the linchpin that made me be like, what is this public speaking thing that I could be doing? And so that's how I, started then looking for ways to learn about public speaking, and eventually turned it into a business and figured out that all my spokesmodeling and sales years really made me super good at first impressions and also at connection. So how to connect with anybody from any age group, any ethnicity, any gender, I don't care, anybody, anywhere. As a spokesmodel, you
Mm.
have to be able to talk to literally every single person. Sure, you do in sales, but really as a spokesmodel, you're the person out in front, you're the face of the brand.
Right.
So you have to be able to communicate with everybody. And that's one of the things that I really found that is important that people need to know. And so that's the primary thing that I teach about in my
What
keynote.
was what was the year that you gave that wedding speech?
Ooh, it had to be 2017. 2017. Yeah.
2017. Oh, okay, so pre-pandemic and
Yep. It was
uh
a year after I moved to Georgia. My best friend and his now wife got married. And it was
oh, where did you live before Georgia?
St. Petersburg, Florida.
Florida.
Yes, beach, right on the beach. Oh, loved it. Tampa Bay is a wonderful place.
Shout
Yep.
out to Tara
Originally,
Lashanko. Yeah.
I should say I'm originally from New England, so I've kind of bopped around a little bit. But so if you get a a bit of that harsh Boston, that's where it comes from. Yeah.
Well, let's talk controversial then. Who's your favorite NFL team?
Well, obviously the Patriots. Come on. I'm not a
Oh,
traitor.
no, Deflate Gate. Here it goes,
Come on.
Patriots.
Come on. I grew up in New England. My
Uh,
grandparents on both sides were hardcore Red Sox fans, so don't even get me going there. And of course, the Patriots are the only way to go. Now, what's funny actually about that, John, is my husband is from Connecticut, which, despite what Connecticut thinks, is part of New England. Okay. And is not a Patriots fan. He's a freaking Steelers fan, and I
what?
don't understand. It doesn't make sense. His dad's a Giants fan, and his mom is a Miami Dolphins fan. So it's like we're all over the place, all over the place.
Yeah, like watching sports in the Gray household on the weekend has got to be confusing at best.
We had two TVs in our living room for a couple NFL seasons. I'm not gonna lie.
Isn't her television? You could change the temperature.
We flip back and forth. Well, because my husband's big into football. He used to play D2, so like football is life. So it's very important in our household.
So let's see. So, you did some great things. It was so great too. I think that's one of my favorite parts about speaking too, is actually sometimes all the stuff around the keynote. Like the keynote is the pinnacle that why you're there. And there's all these other cool things. So, the we got to see the brand new, this is like a brand new part of the aquarium. Like I hadn't even seen it either. And the funny part is I did lead you. I had a beverage, right, that I was talking to somebody else, and then I lost the whole group, but we got to see the Great Wheel, which is our, gigantic Ferris wheel. I don't know if you got to see the movie before you went to the
I did it because it was about to pour and we decided to not walk in the rain. Plus,
part.
plus we had Joe and he's in a wheelchair. So he was like, I was like, I'll go with you. I got you, buddy. Like, I know.
Oh,
I was like, let's not have you rolling in the rain. That sounds terrible.
that was a yeah. Well, it is Seattle, but it's still that's very.
I know. But it was supposed to like storm.
What do you think about our aquarium? That's again a brand
The
new section.
aquarium was phenomenal. I mean, they have like these 3D screens everywhere, so you're like in the fish that are
Yes.
real and some are fake on the TV. I guess they're probably real, probably recorded real. I just thought it was incredible. They had like little like did you go upstairs? If you go
Yes.
upstairs, there was like these like little tanks
Yeah.
that you could
Yeah.
like look into. I thought that was super cool. If you ever go to Seattle, you gotta check out the aquarium. The
And you could
brand
like
new aquarium.
they had cool benches too that had saw different spots of the gigantic tank, and so yeah, rays and sharks and other cool, super cool stuff.
Here we
So
are just doing a pitch for the aquarium. No big deal.
hashtag SeattleAquarium.com. Um, so
So,
let's talk. So one of the things I did learn about you, Amanda, is that, well, I think you're slightly competitive
yes.
and that you're also, resilient, I think is a word that you might use for yourself. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes, absolutely.
So talk to me too. Like you started a speaking career 2017, and then March of 2020 shows up. What's happening for Amanda Mae Gray in March of 2020?
I still had a part-time, I was still doing a lot of spokesmodeling at that point, and speaking was more like a hobby at the time. And so when I mean, obviously spokesmodeling, it got shut down, right? Like there's no events, not allowed to go anywhere. I wasn't allowed to even stand in stores and hawk liquor, like, because that was part of the job. It is what it is. And so like I had nothing to do. So I dove in head over heels for sure into the deep end, into training on speaking. Connected with Stage Time University with Darren LaCroix. Shout out to Darren. He's amazing. And
Yeah.
Stage Time is arguably one of the best in the world to train at. And I did everything. I mean, I became really, really good at speaking. Now, granted, it wasn't on physical stages.
Right.
It was just virtual at the time, which was great for me as an actress, right? I'm like, yeah, I can talk on camera.
Right.
Hello.
Cameron. Yeah.
What's the problem, you guys? Why do you not like this? Like to me, I was like, I don't understand why everybody doesn't enjoy this. Because camera's my world. So that's what I did. I just dove in. I got really good at stagecraft, storytelling, writing speeches, just the whole 9 yards, and then developed from there and got into the first impression keynote that I have that's my signature.
Mm.
Mm.
What do you remember, or what's the top thing you took away, right? Because we all go to a lot of education. I mean, we're around speakers, so there's a lot of education. I'm just curious, like, what's the top thing you retained from that time of that training time?
I would say structure. I think a lot of people get on stage and they talk, but they don't necessarily have a structure for their speech, regardless of if that's in person or virtual. And the human mind really likes to follow that structure, have an idea where it's going, and feel smart by being able to follow along. And I think a lot of people miss out not having a really solid structure to follow to keep that audience engaged, to keep people wanting more and knowing what's happening. And storytelling, it's huge, right? Like if you can't tell a really good story, you're missing opportunities in speaking, no matter how technical you are, no matter how, I don't know, anything you are, you really got to be able to tell an amazing story and understanding the components of a story. It's not
Mhm.
just rambling on. You want to set the stage. You want to try to tap into what people see, what they feel, what they smell, what they can touch. And when you can really bring that to light, you're going to have people leaning in, wanting more, which is the number one way the brain learns is through stories, actually.
Yeah, well, that's what I've told people too. The stories are the oldest form of training and learning. And so that's why storytelling continues to be a top speaker skill, top training skill. And it's about the things that we'll remember. Like you're gonna remember that thunderstorm. We were actually getting thunderstorm warnings or like tornado or something. Like it's very rare for Seattle to get this kind of warning. And luckily it didn't emerge. I mean, it did rain, but it didn't
Well,
emerge.
I
Right?
think I don't know. We were inside the aquarium.
Oh,
It's hard
maybe
to
it did. I don't know. Oh, that's right. It did rain really hard when we
It
were
did
inside.
rain really hard. People were kind of laughing because it was such nice weather, and they were like, "You're from Georgia. You brought the nice weather." I'm like, "Well, we don't even have this nice of weather, but I'll take it." And then, and then it was like, as soon as we got inside, yeah.
So, so talk more about, you said about engagement, these other different ways. So for you, what are some of the ways that you keep your audiences engaged?
Well, if we're specifically talking online, if I was giving a keynote and I'm presenting online right now, I'm sitting, it's an interview style. You want that more intimate feel. But if I am actually giving a speech, a full-on presentation, I'm standing up. You
Oh, yeah.
have completely different energy when you're standing than when you're sitting. And
Mm.
if you think about it, you would never just sit on a stage and give a full presentation. You just wouldn't. So I like to utilize my entire space. If I'm giving a speech, I'm clearing everything out, right? I've got like this little love seat behind me for the dog because he likes to come and hang out. True story. I've got my filing cabinet, but I would clear all of this out. This is a raising desk. I would raise it up, and then I would utilize this box like a stage, and a good speaker is going to utilize the entire stage. They're going to walk back when they're trying to emphasize it's in the distance, or it's scary, or it's in the past. They're going to come forward and get closer to the camera to draw you in and be mindful of what space we're in. I think that's the biggest opportunity that the vast majority of people are missing, is being able to use your 3D space to create that depth that naturally the camera doesn't have, and then actually be a lot more full. Because, like, who sits and doesn't talk with their hands or tells a story not animated? Yes, it's big, it's huge, right? Plus, I'm just super animated with my facials, so I think that's that's a key point. And if you watch or listen to me, I I have a lot of reactions that I don't realize I'm doing. I think it's just innate. But like my facials say a lot. Reactions tell a story, as Darren likes to say, right? So I might not say a punchline, but maybe a expression is going to say it. And if I'm doing that, I'll probably lean in to emphasize and, make some crazy face. And I think that keeps people on their seats and keeps them engaged, because just if I was sitting like this and talking the whole time, that's very monotone, you would probably already tune out, right? Like people are probably like, Amanda, please stop doing that. I liked you first. I think that's a big opportunity.
Well, Brian Walter, right, Hall of Famer Brian Walter said, like, you gotta sometimes ask questions or say things that make people do the Scooby Doo face. You know, the Scooby Doo face is,
I like that.
right? So,
Yeah.
but wait, now, Amanda, you've never seen my studio. Like, we didn't have this opportunity, right?
Oh, I
But
was
one
in
of the
person
things
with you,
that
which is,
happens here is that
oh, I
I
know.
can do this, which is I can walk around Seattle. And so this is what Amanda's
On
talking
top of
about.
a mountain.
Right? Very few people, right, are able to do this. Like, yeah, you could actually pet the mountain, or we could come over here and say, "Hey, this is the Space Needle." And so, one of the ways that we're doing that here, this is what I did with my Corona vacation, is built a
Ooh,
gigantic
Corona
green screen.
vacation. I love that.
And yeah, one of our top tips is that stand up, right? Stand up, and I so agree. Your physiology is so important as a speaker, and I actually told people too to over emote on
Yeah.
virtual, because we were missing so much information from the in-person world that you gotta we over emote. We have all these hand signs for things. This is what happens when either you're on mute or your mic is just so low, right? Or like you just be surprised. It's like you can do the Home Alone face, right? And a few other, yeah, right. So, but it's
Look
funny.
at
It's
my
like
expressions.
you can communicate without saying anything at all, and especially if you're in the audience and you're all on mute. And I think that was such a important part that people missed out. Well, they didn't know, and the worst part is, like, I think Amanda too. Like 80% of the speakers just like do that, which is the monotone. It's like presentations; they just start talking. They think they have to talk for 60 minutes when, right? You really need to craft that 60 minutes, then as opposed to just like keep on rolling on, right? So.
Absolutely. And especially, I mean, even in person, people pick up their phone and you're like on stage and you're like, hi, 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 back to me. But like virtually, they're picking this up the moment, the instant they get a message, they get a notification, the instant you lose their attention. So you have to keep changing it up. What they say in short form video is every 3 to 5 seconds.
Oh,
You need
say more. So say more about your theories around short form video, because I just came from social media marketing world where,
to.
like, I met a woman on TikTok who's in Houston. She went from earning $22,500 2 years later is earning 400K based on TikTok, which is like what, like a 60-second format, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I got into video production specifically for training videos because I had a background in acting, which made me learn how to make auditions, which means I had to learn how to use the camera, right? And what I noticed in training videos is they're boring.
It's true. It's
Tell me a training video, unless you've seen one of mine, that are not boring. Like they're boring, they're long, they say too much, you tune out. And in today's world, what really happens in the retail environment is people go back to the office, right? And then what do? They're on an old computer watching some lame training video, but they're really just on their phone. And so what I do is try to take that social media style video, but make it a little more professional by not doing horizontal or vertical. I do them horizontal. Plus, as a videographer, man, that gives you a lot more space to do stuff. Just
Oh,
saying.
I know.
And I keep it moving. I keep it interesting. I shorten up the message. I try to keep it under 2 minutes long. And then I utilize at least two different cameras. So I can change the angle, which instantly is going to help. I will zoom in and zoom out on important points, but I also do pop-ups with words that are important.
Oh,
So I use specific, it's almost like captions, but it's like a shorter version of captions. So it's just like the highlights, what you really need to take home. And I change up the color, I change up the animation on those so that it is continually keeping your interest because something is changing. So it's not overdone, it's not kitschy or whatever, but it keeps that mind engaged and hearing the message, reiterating that message, and really retaining what it is they need to learn. And it's only one topic, right? Too many training videos try to cover a ton. In one of my training videos, we're just going to cover, let's talk maybe like bag checks in retail, right? If you ever worked in retail, you've had a bag check. If you want to check your bag on the way out. So that's the only thing we talk about in that one training video. Why it's important, how to do it. Done. And we show them, we do it quick, keep the dialogue, have at least two people in the video usually, and it keeps going and keeps moving. So I think that's kind of how I approach my I was helping some speakers with reels. I don't love the current style of speaker reels, but that's how I kind of approach it as well, is like hitting the highlights and just showing you on stage and not doing overproduction. It's not a bunch of random stuff. You don't need to overproduce anything. You just need to keep people's attention and get the main points out there.
yeah, that's John Medina here in at the UW or University of Washington wrote a book called Brain Rules and says,
That sounds
they
good.
retested it over a pandemic. Like the human brain, like will go to sleep and check out at 9 minutes and 59 seconds. So you got to change something, and you've seen it go faster. Like if you count the seconds between a cut in a modern movie, it's between 2 and 3 seconds, and that's
It
why
has to
you know.
be because we've got this dopamine machine and we're just scroll, 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 hit, hit, hit. So we've reduced our attention span and it's an actual problem and it's not just, for the younger generation, we're all doing it.
Yeah.
So it's something that is going to have some long-term effects that we definitely don't know. We don't know what it's going to look like.
And then it's well, and that's actually a great launching point for this, which is given your short form experience and you're in some tech as well as the insight of what happens. What does Amanda May Gray say see in the future for speaking or for virtual or for hybrid?
Interesting. So I think speaking in itself started off as motivational, and you didn't really have to do much but motivate. Then we went and they need to have
Wow.
all the information, and it was content heavy. And if you weren't an expert on something, you couldn't just motivate anymore. What I've noticed is we're going to, I don't want to use the word gimmick, but it's almost like a gimmick in between. You need to be able to entertain
Yes.
and educate
Yes.
simultaneously. Like the good ones that I think that's where it's going, have some sort of almost like that gimmick where they're doing magic, they're playing the piano, they're using other people on stage, right? They
Right.
have some other thing than their expertise that is keeping you involved and engaged, that is propelling that message forward. So we want to be entertained and informed. One key takeaway is tangible takeaways, right? You've probably heard everybody wants tangible takeaways.
They
So
do.
you've got to have that content that people will remember and be able to utilize not just today, tomorrow, but a year from now, going on down the line, that's simple and easy, but you also have to entertain them in the way. And that's where great storytelling comes in. And that's where I think you know, my shine is because I'm entertaining and theatrical and pull out the characters and go big, right? Like I am definitely a lot bigger on stage than most people are comfortable doing. And it's fine. I just got a big personality. What can I say? But I think that's where it's going. I think we're going to this hybrid of I need great content, but entertain me at the same time
Yeah.
because you're going to lose me for 45 minutes. Otherwise, make it shorter. So I do think you're going to see shorter segments as well, especially, you know, that TED style format where
Yeah.
it's content rich for just like 15, 18 minutes. And that could pick up in the world, especially virtually, because people aren't sitting around and watching. But with virtual, what's interesting with virtual is there are a lot of podcasts that go for an hour to 2 hours.
Yeah.
And you think
Yeah. Long format.
the long form, the old terms was like you hit a 10-minute video, maybe 12 minute, and that was it. That was like the old YouTube standard.
Hmm.
And so these super long formats, what people are doing is they put them on and they're listening in the background.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So you
Like
gotta
talk
wonder, is
show
that
almost.
it's yes, it's almost like a talk show where they tune in and they hear what they want to, and then they might tune out. So it should be interesting to see if we have conferences that have those shorter segments, but also have those long conversation formats that I haven't seen yet. I know
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you
To
also
mix
get
them
bored
up.
sitting here, right? Like this expends a lot more energy than you realize to sit virtually for an entire day.
We've all learned how to do it. Like we all have the muscle for it. You know, I hung around with Tony Robbins for a long time, and he coined the term, or somebody coined the term that he used a lot, which was edutainment. Edutainment.
Edutainment.
Yeah, you can put that
Oh,
in the book. So, because it is, it's like how do we entertain, and that's one of the ways to retain attention. Because too, we're inundated with Hollywood and all these other types of forms of entertainment, right? Reels, you know, TikTok and other things. They're entertaining to begin with, and so if you can match it with an educational message, you can really do something. So
absolutely.
yeah, so I think those types of things, I think we'll see more. I think there, you know, it'd be really cool to see a bigger cross between, you know, this the entertainment side and education. I think more of them that you can put together is great. And like one of our good friends here is Nash Fung. You know, he was a magician and now he's moving into using magic as a keynote. And again, magic is no longer the centerpiece, but it is the addition to saying, how do I communicate my message, you know, to other people? Like I use technology for it, but that's just my own personal piece.
Your
Now,
shtick.
yeah, yeah, well, yeah, that might be my gimmick, but in this case, you know, we can call it edutainment or whatever it is. And the best part too is to do something that other people are not doing. You know, I just got a chance to work with Tim Garden. You know, you ever heard of the starfish story? You know, I made a
Of
difference in that
course.
one, right?
Of course.
He made the funniest parody video like 10 or 12 years ago where he showed up as the starfish in an interview.
Oh my God.
Right? And this very famous guy, right, interviews him as a starfish, and it is one of the funniest things. And he's like talking about the horror of some human picking up his friend and throwing it in the ocean.
Does sound horrifying now that you put it that way.
And the whole key here is to take something like if we tell the starfish story now, right, Amanda, like you're gonna put people to sleep because they're like, I heard this is not your story. But when you see the same story represented as something funny, right, you come back and you're like, okay, that was funny, and let's do that. Speaking of funny, we're gonna down to one of my favorite sections of this interview, this new part. This is called the speed round, Amanda. So Amanda,
Oh,
while I've been speaking with you, I've been writing questions for you, and so I'm gonna ask you a bunch of questions. You have to answer them as fast as possible, and then I'll play some funny noise like this one for you. Okay?
what noise? That's such a great noise. I need
Uh,
sound effects.
Oh, yeah, we'll work with that. I can show you though. That one is known as ta-da.
Ta-da! You got to really get into it, John. You can't just say ta-da. It's not.
Okay, you ready? All
All
right,
right.
ready?
I'm trying to be ready. I got to be talk back.
Okay.
Ta-da! Yeah.
Oh, look, yeah, you even hit the high note. I feel that
Definitely.
was very wicked, right? Ha! We could hit the high note. Okay.
Yes. Yes. We need Rebecca on the show to do that too, though. She would bust out the song for
Shout out
us.
Rebecca Murray. Shout out to Rebecca Murray. Okay, cool. Okay, best speaking tip.
Best speaking tip. Go bigger with your stories and really get into your characters because that's what's going to draw the audience in. And you're a little person on a big stage, so you have all that space to use. Get big. That's my tip.
Shout out to an
I just,
NSA member that is not you or I.
all right. Well, you know. Oops.
No, I want you to give a shout out to an
Oh,
NSA member
ask the
that is not
question.
you or I.
I thought you were like, Shout out to an NSA member that is not you or I. Let's see. Let's do a shout out to Pam Linemiller, a good friend of mine. She's the past president of NSA Georgia, and
Georgia.
she's cool. She's spoken in Dubai.
Ooh, wait,
No, she hosted a whole event in Dubai. I thought that was pretty badass.
I have spoken in Riyadh, but not due to Dubai yet. Okay, but okay. Favorite structure in the world?
Favorite structure in the world. Wow, that's a treehouse.
Ooh. I love this question. This was my Oscar question.
Okay.
Who are you wearing?
Who am I wearing? Okay, well, now that you ask, John, Apple is right here. Thank you very much. This is DKNY Sport. I do believe I've got some wonderful jeans on that you can't see, but good news, I do have pants on. And I don't actually, True Religion is who I'm wearing there. And this is custom designer diamonds. So
Ooh,
I guess that counts for something.
all right. Uh, Favorite story that is not yours?
Favorite story that is not mine? Oh, wow. Can it be a movie?
Sure.
Okay. Emperor's New Groove. It's a classic.
Oh, why? I love
No.
that movie.
Isma, put your hands in the air. What do you mean? Kronk is hilarious. First of all, I just watched it the other day with my stepdaughter's friend because my stepdaughter was sick. And that's what, we watched and it was glorious. Yeah, because it's hilarious. And who doesn't like llamas?
Here we go. Best stage moment.
Best stage moment. Ooh, I would say the first time I got on a big stage and I opened my story and it's my signature opening story. And I talk about how, what do you think I am? Some dumb blonde? It's clearly strawberry. And it got a good laugh because it's, funny. And that was probably my best because it was the first time and it's at the beginning and I got my first laugh and I was like, yes, they're with me. So I would say that was probably the best moment.
I feel like that was a Legally Blonde moment, like bend
Yes.
and snap,
And
bend and snap.
well, as a blonde and model, people have a certain perception about me. And so I try to break the ice with humor because it's, who doesn't like humor? Hello. And it breaks it down and it takes away from like this polish because I try to be very polished, very classy, but it
Yeah.
makes me real, right? So I like to be real and have people know that I'm just another human being like everybody else with
Aw.
problems like everybody else. And I like to be funny. So yeah, I think that was it.
Okay, next question. Favorite cinematic camera?
Favorite cinematic camera. John, where did you get these questions?
I
Favorite
just,
cinematic
I told
camera.
you I've been listening.
I shoot with an iPhone 15, 16. I don't know, whatever this is, Pro. I shoot with a Pro. You can shoot 4K. I literally make money, I'm just gonna say money, making videos with iPhones. I yeah, like you don't need more than that these days, but you do have to do the right settings.
Okay.
So,
Your best cinematic tip then?
make sure you use the right settings.
And
Hello.
if you could magically get people to remember one thing from this interview, Amanda Magray, what would that one thing be?
Smile, laugh at yourself. If you open up with a smile and a joke, people are going to like you and remember you and want to be your friend.
Well, outstanding, Amanda. Thank you so much. You can find you at amgspeaks.com. And Amanda, tell us one thing. What are you looking forward to in 2025? What do you have on your agenda that you're excited about?
I am looking forward to hitting a bunch more stages, getting to travel more, and just really start spreading my word because I am on the newer side of the speaking world. And so I'm looking forward to growing and meeting more speakers and getting to meet more audiences and at least make them laugh. If nothing else, make them laugh. Hopefully they get a takeaway. and they like something else, but I promise I'll at least make them laugh.
Well, then let us both practice facial emotions. I'm going to play this message, and you and I will either lip sync or emote for this message. Are you ready?
I'm
This is
ready.
improv. 3, 2, 1.
Thank you for attending the performance. And a special thanks to all those who helped with the show.
Thank you, Amanda Mae Gray. You've been an amazing guest here on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. We'll make sure and see you next time.
Thank you, John.
All right, let's see. We've been talking with Amanda Mae Gray here on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. She said, keep it funny, people, right? Stay real. Don't take yourself too seriously, and learn how to use this box, right? There's a cinematic box here that most of you like stay here, at least your middle center, but do you know that you can actually move around and do things like, one of my favorite tips is to come in and lean in like this. I'm just going to talk to you right now. And people don't do that, and you should. So I totally agree. Hey, if you're watching here on social media, make sure and subscribe, share, like, or comment. We love when our people do that. You know, we have so many other episodes. We just celebrated 2,000 downloads. We're almost to 2,500. So go to engagingvirtualmeetings.online, subscribe and download, and help me hit this big number so that we can post that around. And the last piece here is that if you want a ticket to the Engaging Conference, just scan this QR code or go to engagingvirtualmeetings.com/CON. Get a ticket. Amanda Mae Gray might be one of the speakers this year. She doesn't know that, but she might be. I bet she wants to be. Because, you know, the one thing that that Amanda and you have in common is that you too can be like Amanda and just go to engagingvirtualmeetings.com/meet, select interview, and you could be the next guest here on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Drawing star people and keep people. Show you God.